We've spent a lot of time working with application developers. We have our own application developers ourselves that built the platform. And what they're looking at all the time is, how do I reduce the risk and the cost? And they're constantly looking for trustworthy, hyper-secure ways of storing information where they don't carry the risk over personal data, because that is a huge expense and there are increasing regulation around that. We chose to invest heavily in building a trust framework, an ISO 27001 platform that is designed to manage personal data in a privacy-friendly, individual-centric way. In our model, the organisation collects exactly what they need, gets it just in time as they need to complete a transaction, but they can add and request additional access to information. The individual makes an informed consent about how they do that. It gets distributed through the API of our platform automatically into those applications, and it can provide an audit trail both for the individual that the permission has been granted, and it gives them the ability to switch it off should they become unhappy. Well, we've identified what we think are the key measurable benefits. There's the right thing to do, there's the moral thing to do, but there's the fundamental economics of this equation work for everybody. It delivers trusted identity. That's important for the individual as much as it is for the organisation and the application developer. It delivers cost savings for everybody. It's time savings, it's financial savings, it's transaction processing cost savings. Reduced risk of fraud. You know, we live in a world where we're constantly scared about identity theft or loss of information about our lives. We created a trust framework where that is removed, because you know everybody that you're interacting with. You have certainty that you're sending information to a person that's been verified by the Mydex platform. You can't, as an organisation, connect to our platform unless you can prove that you legally are who you say you are, and we're following the good practice guides that have been published by the government for that, as well as our own processes of verification of the identity of organisations. We want to make our platform that open environment where anyone who wants to innovate and needs to interact with individuals' personal data can do so in a very secure way. So we have a charter at the heart of the business. We have terms for members which set out very clearly their responsibilities, our responsibilities and obligations to them. We have terms for connections, which is what applications and relying parties connect to. They are written in plain English and transparent. We're constantly looking at expressing those in simpler terms, but they were written to work on behalf of the individual to balance that trust equation, because up to now the individual has not had a place or tools that actually let them work on an equal footing with the organisations that supply them. Up to now, you've had to turn up and tick their terms and conditions. As all the research shows, nobody actually reads them. In our world, we're creating a common set of terms and conditions that you read once and understand, and at the heart of the sharing of information backwards and forwards is a thing called a data sharing agreement, and it sets out in precise terms the use case for the data that an individual is sharing with an organisation or with an application developer, the limits to the use of that, the data set that is being shared, the time limits that may go on with that, and there's a whole rich area of permissioning and control, so it's transparent. And this is where the privacy by design becomes possible, because the individual is in control and the organisations connecting have to think through why they need the information and justify it to Mydex as they submit a connection request into our platform, because it has to go through certification and testing as a connection, and we will challenge anything that actually breaches data minimisation guidelines. And this is an ongoing area of importance that we feel to provide. So the platform in operation really comes down to creating secure encrypted transactions between individuals and organisations across the platform, completely under their control. Whatever suppliers or organisations, public or private sector it may be, whatever type of data it might be, the individual fundamentally is sitting in control of it. We've seen a new efficiency and reform group come on and start talking about how society might change, and at the heart of that is identity. So the government have created an identity assurance program where individuals can acquire a trusted digital identity for themselves. They went out to procurement and said, we want an economy of people that can provide identity services for individuals. Mydex is the only community interest company, micro SME, to have been successful. Now, platform essentials, for those that like the buzzwords, I'll run down them for you. It's a scalable community cloud infrastructure. It's multi-tenant, it's hyper-secure in bomb-proof data centers with dual data centers. Outside the blast radius of a 747, should it crash, it can seamlessly move to the other data center. We're IL2, we could move to an IL3 environment should we need to, but we don't need to because we do not hold personal data ourselves. We have no big database, we just manage lots of files that are encrypted by individuals. We are ISO 27001. We're also a member of OIX and we're a registered trust framework with them, and we will also be T-scheme assured as part of the government program. Everything is encrypted with a 256-bit encryption, that's the personal data store. We use HTTPS to transmit. Inside the HTTPS tunnel is encrypted data packets that are uniquely encrypted between the receiving organisation and the sending individual and vice versa. A PDS, as I said before, can be stored anywhere. If you want it on your own PC or your own server or your own personal preferred area. It's a federated data model. If you want to run multiple personal data stores and store different things in different ones, you could do that too. We're about giving you the ability to link it. We have a RESTful API. We can support JSON, XML. We are open source. The entire platform is built on open source technology. We contribute to the open source community. We've obviously configured it uniquely and we have some innovations inside that area. But the whole idea was to build this as a community organisation that was built on open source and not dependent on any commercial organisation. In terms of the simplistic view of the platform, multiple personal data stores. Uniquely encrypted transactions across the cloud, the internet, everything is uniquely identified. We are completely browser agnostic, device agnostic and operating system agnostic. So any device, any operating system, any browser people can develop in. As we've said before, our focus is making the documentation readily available and simple, and we take constant feedback from our own developers and the developer community about the information they would like, any suggestions, and we're building out a developer community and engagement which is being moderated by the developers themselves so that we can actually help grow the API, grow the data sets, grow the schemas to meet the needs of both the individuals but also the communities that we serve.